First, you want to start by securing your thread to the hook and then wrapping it back to the bend of the hook. Once it's there and secure, clip off the excess thread. The tail of our Adams fly is made with elk mane. Just a fingertip of strand should do the trick. Clip them off, and then we want to get all the tips to match. So the best way to do that is to put it in our hair stacker. Tip side down, and then stack the hair. Pull it out evenly, and the length of the tail should be roughly half the length of the shank of the hook. Hold your strands in place and then secure them to the hook, wrapping your thread to half the length of the shank. Clip off the excess hair, and then wrap your thread back to the bend. Substitutes for the tail fibers could be Zelon and Antron, or if you want to give yourself a challenge and really add some pizzazz, use a microfibulate. Next, we're going to add our gray dubbing to the line. Keep in mind that the Adams fly is more or less a mayfly pattern, so by changing the color of the dubbing and the hackle, we can make PMDs, blue-winged olives, mahogany duns. You can even go with a March brown or a purple haze. So just keep that in mind when you're creating this fly. Whichever color you select, make sure it has a nice taper to about 3/4 of the way up the hook. The mark of a great fly tire is being able to get your tippet through the eye of the hook. Just keep that in mind. Next, we're going to add the parapost. Take the parapost and put it underneath the hook, and then secure it to the hook. We're going to hold the parapost and then wrap in front of it, securing it down. Now we're going to want to make the post, and we do that by keeping our thread as close as we can to the shank of the hook. Now I'm going to slow this down and try to explain it to you. As we are wrapping our thread in front of the camera, or closest to us, that's when we are applying most of the pressure around the post. Notice that it's also the part when we're holding the post. We let go of the post in order to get the line around our fingers. When we do that, we are only keeping the amount of pressure needed to keep the thread from unraveling. This part can be a little tricky at first, but over some practice and some time on the vise, you'll get it down. Secure the thread in front of the post. Now we're going to take our grizzly hackle, bare the stem, and tie it in front of the post. Secure it down, and then we're going to wrap our thread underneath the hackle, tying the hackle itself to the post. And then a couple of wraps to secure the thread. Now we want to just add a little bit of dubbing before we start wrapping our hackle around the post. If you do decide to change the color of the fly, keep in mind that you're going to also have to change and alter the hackle a little bit. For instance, if you're going to tie a pink Cahill, you might want to go with a ginger hackle. That would match the fly just a little bit better. Build up the body a little bit, that way you have a nice taper from tail to head. Once we have that, start to wrap your hackle around the post. Notice once we wrap the first wrap, we are going underneath that first wrap, and we continue to go underneath. We want our parachute to be as close to the body as we possibly can get it. The same idea of pressure applies for this step as well. Depending on the size of the hook, 3 or 4 wraps around the post should do the trick. Once it's there, start by taking your thread and wrapping it around the post to secure the hackle in place. Once we have that, it's time to whip finish. Whip finishing with hackle this close to the eye can be a little tricky. Notice how we just kind of weave in and out. It might help by pinching back the hackle as well. And then you want to cut off your thread as soon as you're done whip finishing and the excess saddle hackle. Now we're going to stretch up our parapost now that everything's secure, and then snip it. By snipping it like we are in 45-degree angles, we're simply just giving the parachute more of a rounded top, which kind of looks nice. And now we've just created a parachute atom.